Hey, Into Picklers, welcome to our inaugural podcast. This is number one of what we hope will be more than one podcast in the series. We really like here at Into Pickle to share our information about pickleball. We love to grow the sport or try and help grow the sport. Part of that, we believe, is sharing helpful information about pickleball, helping players become better players, more invested in the game in terms of, their ability to play it, makes for a more enjoyable experience. Also helping new players coming into the game, players who have never experienced pickleball before. Hopefully will come across this podcast at some point in their lives, and maybe you'll be piqued by it and be interested in checking out pickleball. So, we figured, we had the online videos, the YouTube videos, has been a way that we've used to try and help, reach players, get out there more, get more information out to players. So we thought podcasting was something that we hadn't done yet. We know there's some other really good podcasts out there. Eddie and Webby have one. Barrett has one at Pickleball Kitchen. Mark Renison has one with the Pickleball Problems. So we thought we would try our hand at it and maybe do a little bit of different format on ours. What we're going to do with ours is basically we're going to do two parts in our podcast. One part will be trying to bring you a substantive knowledge. So try and bring you something that'll help your game, that'll help you improve as a player. The second part will be me just riffing. So basically, I'll just be talking about, it could be rec play, it could be out calls, it could be ratings, could be COVID, whatever. So the first part will be substantive, and then the second part will just be something of interest. If there's a topic that you think would be interesting for a podcast or for a video for that matter, please let us know. You can always reach me at Tony@intopickle.com. So TONY@IN2 pickle.com. We thought for our first podcast, we'd share with you 3 specific things that you can do to improve as a pickleball player. I want to improve as a pickleball player. I imagine if you're listening to this, you want to improve as a pickleball player as well. Sometimes you can, improve by learning a new skill, like a non-volley zone lob or resetting a volley attack kind of a thing, where you're getting pressured and you can reset it. Sometimes you improve by improving the existing skill. So, doing something a little bit better third shot, better return to serve, and things like that. So what I want to do here is share with you 3 tips that you can use to become a better pickleball player. Some of these tips may seem self-evident, but sometimes it's helpful just to be reminded of things that we may already know but have forgotten about or haven't really focused on for a while. So basically, the first tip we got to talk about is you have to learn the game. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know how to play pickleball. In other words, generally speaking, who serves, who returns, things like that. But you really understand the difference between, let's say, a return side game and a serve side game. Those are 2 vastly different games. I tell people the serve side and the return side are like playing baseball and football. I mean, they're 2 entirely different types of activities in terms of the focus you have in what you're doing, the types of shots you're hitting, and things like that. So if you don't understand the difference between serve and return, that's a really good place to start. Do you understand the disadvantage that a serving team is under at the beginning of the point? If you don't understand that, then you can't really come up with a strategy that makes sense for you to play when you're playing on the serve side of the point or of the rally. So you really have to try and learn not just the basics of pickleball. So not just, okay, I can't step into the non-volley zone, which even that rule I think is misunderstood by people. But not just that, but I need to understand, for instance, court angles. I need to understand where the action happens on the court. Where is it best for me to stand, and where can I have the most impact on the game? Those are things that take some time, take some study, whether it's watching videos, reading books. There's a lot of good material out there that you can look at. For instance, in videos, there's our videos obviously, but there's a lot of other good material there. There you have CJ Johnson does really good stuff with particularly 50 plus pickleball and things like that. She has a really good content at Bitter Pickleball. Barrett Kinchelo at Pickleball Kitchen does a really good job with particularly with beginner intermediate concepts, some top 10, top 5, really good stuff, the things that you can pick up there. There's Primetime Pickleball has some really good drills, some really good advanced concepts. Speaking of advanced concepts, Coach Simone Jardim on her channel with Eddie from Eddie and Webby puts on some real good content with guests like Phil Metz, Catherine Parenteau, and others. Then you also have some of the things that have been out there for a little bit longer. So like Mark Renison at Third Shot Sports, he does a really good job. Sometimes he and I don't see exactly eye to eye on certain concepts, but doesn't mean that his concepts are wrong or that he doesn't have good value out there. He has really good content on his channel. And then you go back even further. You go into like, Pickle Pong Debs or Deb Harrison, Sarah Ansberry. We're talking Glenn Peterson. I mean, there's, Pickleball 411 videos. Joe Baker has some really, really good videos that really helped Jill and I when we were first starting out in the sport. So, there's a lot of good content out there. Obviously we hope that the content that we provide to you at Into Pickle is content that is helpful to you and that resonates with you, is I guess a good way of saying it. So, something that kind of, you can use and that makes sense to you, the way that we present it. But the key is to find an avenue, to find a source of information that works for you. And with the source of information out there, I think there's enough out there that you can really apply yourself to the game some and try and learn the game that you've adopted as your own and that you hopefully want to improve in. There's a saying of there's a byline that they use in the game Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. And I think pickleball really, that byline or that slogan could be applied to pickleball. And pickleball, as you know, if you play it already, is that, it's a game that you can teach somebody to play in, 5 or 10 minutes, maybe not the scoring, that's a little more complicated, but 5 or 10 minutes, they can be out there, they can play, they can enjoy themselves and have a good time. But, I've been playing for over 4 years and I still learn, I'll watch a match or I'll study a point or something and I'll break it down a little differently. And I'll say to myself, wow, that's pretty fascinating that I didn't realize this thing about the game. So tip number one, guys, is you got to spend some time, and gals, you got to spend some time learning the games. You got to spend some time studying videos, reading books, things like that. Really learn the games. Find someone who you resonate with, who like you can understand what they're saying. It makes sense to you. Obviously someone who knows the game, and then really try and dig down and understand the game. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is, now you got to take what you've learned, particularly from a stroke mechanic standpoint. You have to drill. A lot of us don't drill. I know that I should drill more than I do. I've been drilling more nowadays than I had in the past, particularly given the COVID situation that's going on right now. So Jill and I will go down there and drill sometimes, but I still need to drill more than I'm drilling. And, drilling is really the only way to learn stroke mechanics. I have students ask me sometimes, or they'll tell me, okay, so you suggest that I do X and Y, let's say, this and that. And I went out and I tried doing it, but it was too much going on and I couldn't, it wasn't working. And so when they say too much is going on, what that tells me is they were in a game situation trying to learn a stroke mechanic or trying to adjust a stroke mechanic, and that's simply impossible. If you're going to learn a stroke mechanic or work on a stroke mechanic, the only way to do that is through drilling. And it can be drilling with a machine. It can be drilling with a wall. It can be drilling at home. It can be drilling with a friend. It can just be drilling for like 5 minutes before you start playing. That's something I think is greatly underutilized. You don't need to have an hour and a half drill session. If you're working, let's say, on a grip pressure concept that you don't really understand, next time you play, ask somebody who you know well to go out on the court with you for 5 minutes while you warm up and drill on that concept instead of just standing there and kind of, dilly-dally warming up, kind of talking, and spend 5 minutes just focused on your drilling, and it'll really improve your game. So one thing about drilling, though, that's really important, as well as, doing it is important, but doing it right is important. I tell folks sometimes when I see them drilling, I tell them to basically stop drilling, go home and watch a movie or something, because if you're drilling wrong, and I tell them that when they're drilling wrong. So if you're drilling the wrong stroke, so you're hitting the stroke incorrectly and drilling it, all you're doing is actually making things worse, because you're further, you're training your muscle memory in the wrong way, and then going to make it harder to fix that later on. So if you're going to drill, I definitely recommend drilling. But if you're going to drill, I recommend you drill right. In other words, drill correctly, and not drill incorrectly and further exacerbate the situation. The third tip I want to give you is recognizing when what you learned applies. So, it's really good to know, about adjusting grip pressure, for instance. So knowing that, lighter grip pressure will, result in a ball that doesn't travel as far than the tight grip pressure. But when does that apply? So when should you adjust your grip pressure, or when is there something going on in your game that should result in you adjusting your grip pressure? And so it's kind of a critical analysis is the way I think about it. Lori, who works with me here at Into Pickle, I think she put it really well when she said, it's being able to see the game, which sounds kind of esoteric, a little bit, a little new agey, to see the game. But really, if you can't see the game, so if you can't recognize when you're out there why it is that something is happening, so why it is that your balls are maybe going too deep or too short, or if they're if the other team is just winning point after point after point, and you don't know why they're winning the points, then it's impossible to really fix the problem, right? So, having an ability to critically analyze situations or to recognize when what's going on and when it's going on is really important. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So, one way is to self-study. So, what you would do then is you're basically going to watch some videos. You're going to go online, you're going to watch a point. Try and find one that you sort of resonates with you, that you recognize, that looks like, okay, this looks like something that's happened to me or that I've seen before. And then I want you to really go back and look at it again and again. You have to watch it several times, and you're going to watch it from different vantage points. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to focus on the server. I'm going to focus on the returner. I'm going to focus on the MVZ player at the return point. So in other words, the only player who's up on the return team. Or I'm going to focus on the non-server, the other player. I'm going to focus on the different players and just see what they did. And then hopefully you can, by doing that a few times, you can start to figure out, okay, this was something that looked correct and this is something that looked incorrect. What you can't do when the point ends or a rally ends is say, okay, that rally ended because there was a pop-up and the ball was put away. That's a lot of times that's just not gonna be enough. In other words, you just fixing the pop-up isn't gonna fix the problem of the point or the rally. Usually it's something other than the pop-up that initiated the series of events that might have ended up with the pop-up and the put-away. But oftentimes it's something that happened prior to the pop-up or prior to what appears to be the error that was what occasioned the error to occur later on. So that critical analysis skill is really important. So what you would do is you would review that over and over again. Another option is, and this is the reason we started this academy, is we have the Into Pickle Online Academy. Our focus is to help you learn this. And so basically what you do there is you go through points with me. You're basically going to sit there and not sit there. You're going to participate in a class with me, and you're going to watch points, and then I'm going to explain to you what I'm seeing. I'll ask you what you're seeing, and then hopefully over time you'll be able to generate this skill or learn this skill. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us. You can go to intopickle.com. There's more information on there. You can read about it. You can see what some of our students are saying about it. I think it's a really valuable exercise. I think it's a really valuable way of learning. Obviously, clinics and lessons and things like that are also valuable, particularly for stroke mechanics and things like that. But for critical analysis, for understanding how the game is played, we think that the online academy courses that we've set up are a really good mechanism to figure that out. So to help you figure that out. So hopefully we'll see you in class one of these days, and it'll help you out in your game. So anyway, so those are 3 tips, guys and gals, that hopefully will help you out. So one is you really got to study the game if you want to improve. We're giving you some of the resources there. There's also some good books. You can go to Amazon and look at some pickleball books. Coach Mo has one. We have one right now that's for beginners. On Amazon, like I said, there's some good books out there on how to play pickleball you can look at as well. And then just, surfing the web, obviously, Google your questions and things like that. So studying the game, drilling, working on your game, practicing your game, and then understanding, how the game works, seeing the game so that you can then take the rules that you've learned or the concepts that you've learned, the skills that you've developed by drilling, and apply them in real-time play. So hopefully those three tips will help you improve you as a player. Our objective as players and as instructors is to help you become the best player you can be. If you're curious about stacking and how it applies to pickleball, stay tuned. I'm going to give you a quick riff on stacking. You may already know this about me, but I'm a left-handed player. So I've been stacking for years, and I'm a big believer in stacking. I think it can really help improve your game. Whenever I run into someone who's skeptical about stacking, I'll generally ask them, I'll say, do you want an advantage in your game? Do you want some advantage in your game? And even a 1% advantage in your game, which hopefully they want, because that means you have a higher chance of winning, right? And so if the answer hopefully is yes, and if it's yes, then stacking definitely gives you an advantage. And it's not 1%. I would venture to say somewhere 3 to 7%, 5% maybe, something like that. It's somewhere in that range. And it depends on the situation. Sometimes it can really change a game. I've played games where we have basically stacked strategically, not just stacking for forehands in the middle, but we've stacked in a way, for instance, to create a diagonal shot for my partner because the diagonal shot was working better than the straight on shot, and we wanted to play a certain targeting a certain player on the other team. Another concrete example of when stacking is very effective is let's say that you've served 3 times in a row. So you've served 2 serves, 2 serves, 2 serves. So 3 side outs, no points. Maybe the next time around, stack on the serve. The serve is particularly easy to stack on. So stack on the next serve and switch it up a little bit, right? I mean, you've already tried essentially 6 serves in the formation that you're in, haven't scored a point or won a rally and scored a point. So maybe try a stack at one of them and maybe just, again, give the other team a different look, give yourself a different look, a different shot selection, and maybe change things up. So that's another just really simple example of when stacking can be valuable. What I suggest to you is if you want to be a good pickleball player, or if you want to improve as a pickleball player and you want to give yourself the best chance when you're out there, understanding stacking and understanding when and how to use stacking is a super valuable tool. Highly recommend it to you guys. Get into stacking. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please share it with other listeners and also rate us if you can on whatever service you're using. That'll help us reach additional listeners. We'll see you next week, and good luck out there.